You don't need illusion. You need intention. Because when a woman speaks with sincerity, with perfect timing, and with a steady kind of quiet power, she doesn't just get noticed for a moment. She gets remembered in a way that settles into someone's system, not just in the mind, but in the body. She becomes something that's felt, something that lingers long after the moment has passed. Let that truth rest in your chest for a breath. Let it move with you for a second. Somewhere along the journey, someone convinced you of a lie. They told you that to keep a man's attention, you had to perform. Be a little softer, smile a bit wider, dress up, act chill, respond quicker, pretend you're unbothered, be more fun, less real. They handed you tactics, polished behaviors, clever maneuvers. But here you are, still wondering why none of it sticks, why you can give so much and still feel unseen. You've noticed it, haven't you? Some women speak endlessly, yet leave no impression at all. They fill the air with words, but nothing lands, nothing resonates. And then there's the other woman, the one who barely speaks. Yet the second she opens her mouth, the entire atmosphere shifts. People lean in without meaning to. Heads turn. The energy changes. That isn't magic. That's mastery. That's a woman who knows the weight of her own voice. A woman who isn't guessing anymore. She's speaking from her center, from a rooted place within, and that's what we're stepping into today. Before we go deeper, pause for yourself. Take a breath. Do whatever small gesture reminds you that you're choosing to stop being overlooked. Because if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right and yet still remain unseen, what we're about to explore may be the moment something finally shifts for you. Now picture this. You're standing at the edge of a still lake at dawn. The water is smooth like untouched glass. You pick up the smallest pebble and drop it in. Even that tiny pebble sends ripples stretching across the whole surface. That's what intentional words do. Not loud, not forced, not flashy, just deliberate. A whisper that echoes long after you've stepped away. But what are most women doing? They're throwing rocks, shouting across the water, tossing out waves of words hoping something will land. It doesn't, because the secret isn't in the quantity of your words. It's in the vibration behind them, the energy that carries them. That subtle, powerful frequency is what reaches deeper places. Here's something most people never hear. The subconscious mind, that deep internal place where real attraction takes hold, doesn't respond to logic at all. It responds to emotion. It listens to tone, to rhythm, to presence, to symbol. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that isn't only about personal growth, it's about human connection too. Because a man doesn't fall for you because your sentences are perfect. He falls when something inside him lights up, something he can't name but can't forget. Your issue isn't effort, it's the tools you were given. You ask, how was your day? He says, good. You follow with, what do you do for work? He answers, then silence. Nothing blooms from it. Why? Because your words didn't sink into the deeper layers. They didn't touch anything real. They didn't stir anything within him. And this isn't your fault. You were trained to perform, not to connect. But that changes now. When you learn to speak with impact, with emotional precision, something dramatic shifts. When you know not just what to say, but how to say it, when to say it, and more importantly, how to mean it, you stop blending into the noise. You begin to stand out in a quiet and powerful way. When your energy is calm instead of striving, people feel the difference immediately. He feels the difference. And in that moment, you become unforgettable. You don't need 50 clever lines. You need a few words spoken with your whole presence and a tone that's steady but sure. You need that gentle, grounded confidence that makes a man pause mid-thought and wonder, who is she? That's not manipulation, that's resonance. It's emotional intelligence wrapped in rhythm. When you speak with meaning, not volume, you stop chasing attention. Attention naturally moves toward you. The human mind doesn't cling to words, it clings to energy. It remembers tone, cadence, and emotional temperature. It doesn't store phrases, it stores feelings. It stores the way someone made you breathe differently for a moment. People forget sentences, they remember sensations, especially men. He won't recall your exact wording, but if something in what you said reached him, really reached him, he'll carry that spark long after. Imagine a dark room filled with balloons. Every balloon has the same phrase printed on it. Hey, how are you? Just checking in. The room is crowded with identical, predictable messages. Now imagine you don't bring another balloon. You carry a small candle. You light it. That single flame draws every eye without trying. It warms the whole space with no effort. That's what authentic energy does. So many of you hold back from speaking with depth because you fear being misunderstood. You fear sounding dramatic, too intense, too honest, too much. So you retreat into safe, bland patterns. Hey, what's up? Predictable, forgettable. But you weren't meant to be background sound. You were born to stir something awake. Yet you were taught to keep your voice small, to stay polite, to avoid deep waters. Politeness doesn't leave an imprint. Presence does. When your words carry imagery, emotion, and intent, they don't just get heard, they get experienced. You stop being text on a screen and become a feeling, a memory, something he wants more of, not because of the literal words, but because of the energy behind them, because of who you were in the moment you spoke them. So from now on, hold yourself to a higher standard. No more empty messages, no more filling silence with surface-level chatter. Speak from something real. Speak from your center, not the version of you that tries to match what you think he wants, not the polished version you perform, just you, steady, honest, grounded. Stay with me, because what comes next opens more doors. We're stepping deeper now into how to create moments with words that don't simply catch attention. They hold it long after you've left. Words that settle into his chest and echo through his mind. Words that bypass the logical mind and slip into memory. This is where the shift begins. 3 small words that quietly alter the energy of everything. You and me. Simple, almost ordinary, but do not underestimate them. These words aren't just spoken, they are painted. They create an image, a possibility, a shared spark. You and me isn't a line. It's an invitation, a mirror, a moment of subtle connection. Say it with me. You and me. Soft, uncomplicated, but potent. The most meaningful emotional shifts rarely come from dramatic declarations. They come from gentle phrases that slide right into the nervous system without resistance. When you say you and me, you're not asking for anything. You're not hoping for a reaction. You're placing a small seed in his imagination, a picture he didn't know existed until you spoke it. Most people don't realize this. The male subconscious, the part that decides attraction, responds to imagery, tone, and emotion, not logic. Think of Denzel Washington talking to his younger self. He wouldn't say, use the right line. He'd say, it's not the words, it's what they spark. That's the truth of connection. When a woman speaks a phrase like you and me with relaxed certainty and a subtle spark in her eyes, you don't just hear it, you see it, you feel it. It paints a scene instantly. Imagine sitting across from a man. The energy is light, warm. Instead of saying, I like talking to you, you smile slightly, lean in a bit and say, you and me could have dangerously good conversations. Everything shifts. You didn't compliment him, you didn't try too hard, you invited him in. You opened a door he didn't even know was there. You created space for curiosity and possibility. Or you might say, you and me, we'd make one hell of a team. It's playful, suggestive, but not overbearing. It stirs something without forcing anything. And yes, you might hear that little internal voice. Is that too bold? Will he think I'm silly? What if he doesn't respond? But here's the thing. You're not saying it to earn anything. You're saying it to leave a subtle imprint, and impressions like that linger, even in silence. They stay alive in his thoughts. They breathe in his imagination. This isn't about controlling anyone. It's about confidence, quiet confidence. You aren't chasing, you're claiming your space. You're showing that you're not afraid to let a moment exist. These are the moments that make a man pause, not from pressure but from genuine intrigue. Something new opens inside him, something begins forming. So next time the moment feels right, don't shrink. Don't fold back into safety. Don't retreat into small talk. Offer the spark. Offer the moment. Say it casually, like it's effortless. Say it with depth, like it matters. You and me, not a trick, a doorway, an invitation into possibility. It's a doorway. Now, where we're heading next, this is where timing steps into the spotlight. Because just like a match won't catch if the wood is still damp, even the most powerful phrase won't land if it's spoken too soon or repeated too much. Stay with me. What's coming is sharper, more precise, more intentional. This phrase isn't about force, it's about confidence. You don't chase his attention, you cultivate presence. Let that truth settle for a breath, because this right here, this is the pivot point. This is where everything subtly turns in your favor. You and me isn't manipulation. It's not a trick. It's not a ploy to make him notice you. It's a mirror of how you see yourself. That phrase doesn't land because it's cute or clever. It lands because of the energy you carry when you say it. When you speak it with quiet assurance, it communicates something deeper, something far more magnetic. It says, without effort, I'm not waiting to be chosen. I am the choice. That's the kind of clarity the unconscious is pulled toward. Jung knew it. He reminded us that the unconscious is drawn to symbols, to certainty, to grounded inner truth. When you speak from rooted belief, you become that symbol in a world full of people stumbling, doubting, shrinking themselves. You become the lighthouse that stands still while others flicker. Think of this for a moment. You've heard people say, "Do you maybe want to hang out sometime?" That isn't confidence. That's someone asking for permission they already have. That's someone holding the key but still knocking timidly. Now flip it. Change the energy entirely. Say something like, "You and me should check out that spot downtown." That's presence. That's intention. That's direction. It's suggestion, not a request. And if he's attuned to your wavelength, he'll flow naturally toward that energy. Ask yourself this: do you want to be the woman who tiptoed around her truth, or the one who said one unforgettable thing that made him feel something real? Because here's the truth you can't escape. Energy tells the real story. You can be saying all the right words, but if your tone whispers uncertainty, if your delivery begs for approval, the message dissolves before it reaches him. But if you speak with the knowing that your presence is already enough, that's when things shift. That's when he tilts his head, studies you for a second, and thinks, she's different. She's not like the rest. It's not about speaking louder. It's about speaking deeper. It's not about being aggressive. It's about being aligned with yourself. That's feminine strength. It doesn't shout. It doesn't grasp. It just exists with a calm gravity. It stands rooted, unshaken, and that quiet certainty draws people in without effort. So don't keep searching for an invitation. Become the invitation, because once you stop trying to prove you're enough and start speaking like someone who already knows she is, that's when your energy shifts the whole dynamic. That's when you stop being ghosted or overlooked and instead begin leaving a lasting impression in his mind and body. What we're stepping into next is timing, the razor-thin edge where so many women unknowingly miss the mark. Not because their words are wrong, but because they land at the wrong moment. This is how you deliver your truth without pressure. Stay close. This next part is all precision, emotional clarity, because your energy enters the space before your words ever do. Say a flawless phrase with the wrong tone, the wrong timing, or anxious posture, and the entire meaning collapses. The truth most avoid is simple. It's not just what what you say, it's how your whole being carries it. You can say "you and me" 100 times, but if your eyes dart around, if your voice quivers, if your posture silently says "please like me," it won't land. Not because the phrase is flawed, but because your energy isn't aligned with it. Consider the difference. One woman says "you and me would make a dangerous team," but her arms are tightly crossed. She looks down, her voice thin and unsure. She hopes the words will work for her because she doesn't trust her energy. Another woman says the exact same phrase with relaxed shoulders, steady eye contact, a soft half smile. Her tone is calm. Her energy says, "I'm fine either way." Same words, entirely different world. You already know which one stays in his memory. Calm certainty draws people in because it's rare. It's grounding. Most people don't know how to be still. They only know how to perform. And this is the secret. Energy never lies. Your energy tells him immediately whether you're speaking from fullness or reaching from emptiness. You can dress beautifully. You can say perfect things. But if your energy is anxious, it shows. But you don't need to raise your voice or push harder to be powerful. You need to be present. Meet his eyes. Not like you're asking for something, but like you're simply meeting him where he is. Sit or stand with ease. Not stiff with insecurity, but relaxed with self-worth. That stillness you feel when you're not chasing, when you're not scrambling for the right thing to say, that stillness is your hidden weapon. Let that stillness wrap around your words. Let it move through your tone. Let it do the work with you, not against you. Because when you say something meaningful, then allow a moment of silence afterward. That's when the impact deepens. That's when your words drop into a quieter, more memorable place within him. We really shouldn't call it confidence. Congruence is the better word, because that's what matters. Your inner truth matching your outer expression. When your energy, tone, body language, and words all speak the same language, he doesn't just hear you, he feels you. And that's the line between a phrase he forgets by morning and one that hangs in the back of his mind for days. Now we move into the most overlooked part. When do you say it? Because timing is everything. Speak it too soon and it feels like pressure. Speak it too late and the moment dissolves. But speak it at the right moment and you're not just speaking to his mind, you're awakening his awareness. Stay with me. This is where precision connects with power. Timing is sacred. Don't rush the moment. Don't pour your best energy into a space that isn't open. A wise woman doesn't speak for applause. She waits for alignment. And in true connection, that moment is everything. You can have the perfect phrase, gorgeous energy, warm presence, but if you drop "you and me" too early, it doesn't feel like a spark. It feels like a pitch. Nothing shuts chemistry down faster. Early pressure makes him retreat. Too many repetitions make him tune it out. This is more than words. It's timing wrapped in intention. The right moment is when the energy feels light, when the vibe is flowing with ease, when he's leaning in, when he's laughing, when he opens the door through his body language or tone. That's when you place the phrase softly in the space, not dramatically, not as a big declaration, just a quiet ripple. Picture this. He's talking about his favorite taco place. You smile and say, "You and me should go see if it's actually worth the hype." That's it. No pressure, no clinginess, no expectation, just a tiny picture, a small doorway. You didn't ask, you simply stated it, and then you let it float. You didn't tighten your energy. You didn't stare at him for approval. You trusted the moment to carry itself. That's attraction, not the loud kind, the subtle kind that makes him think of you later, unexpectedly, when he's alone. Many women grip too tightly, trying to control the outcome. They try to get confirmation, reassurance, a clear yes, but a woman who knows her value drops the phrase like a pebble in the water and lets the ripple travel. She knows silence is part of the delivery. She knows he'll feel it more in the quiet than in the noise. She knows he might think about it later, turning it over in his mind without realizing it. That soft spark that hits him while he's driving home, the kind that makes him think, "You and me would actually make a wild pair," and he smiles without knowing why. That's not manipulation, that's meaning, that's resonance, that's emotional imprint. And the beautiful part is, if it landed, you won't need to repeat it. You won't need to chase anything. He'll already be carrying the idea inside him, replaying it quietly. This kind of woman doesn't leave a mere impression. She leaves a mark, a symbol, a small mythology that lives in his subconscious. She doesn't beg to be remembered. She becomes unforgettable by the way she moves, the way she speaks, and most importantly, the way she releases. Don't chase reactions. Don't monitor his face for approval. Speak like a woman who knows her voice holds weight, even in silence. Now we step into something people rarely talk about. Silence, the moment after the phrase. Sometimes the words aren't the power. Sometimes the pause is. Let the silence work for you. If you drop the phrase and immediately start searching his eyes for reassurance, the power dissolves. If you say you and me and then hover for validation, your energy gives you away. It says, please tell me I did it right. But you didn't say it for approval. You said it because it was true, because it felt aligned, because it came from your center. Let this sink into your chest. The silence afterward is not empty, it's full. It's where the weight of your words can finally settle. It's the space where your presence breathes. That silence is the difference between someone performing and someone landing emotionally. Because a woman who is rooted, she doesn't fear silence. She uses it. She lets the moment expand. She lets the words echo through him. She lets the vibration of her tone linger long after the sentence ends. She knows that the right phrase, spoken in the right tone, at the right moment, delivered with aligned energy, can stay in a man's mind for days, even weeks. And what we're moving into next, that's where your words stop being phrases and start becoming symbols, emotional imprints, anchors that tie to memory in deeper ways.